Big news once again this week at the Haunted Mansion. We know how and when it will reopen. There are also some dramatic changes coming to the exterior queue. We've got updates on Din Tai Fung and Portos, plus more from Avengers Campus. But we'll start today out in the Esplanade, where we have a new home for accessibility services. So you no longer are going to City Hall, better known as DAS to you and me. You may have heard that they have been, or were planning to change the DAS policies. That is in effect as of now. And part of that change to the DAS policies was moving the interview process out into the Esplanade, out into those old kiosks they built for buying tickets. You're no longer going to City Hall for that interview for DAS. That interview is happening out here in the Esplanade. Now I'm hoping to provide a little bit more info. I'm planning to do a brief video just on how this process works today, but understand or know that it is, there's going to be a line up here that at this morning. This is about 9 a.m., about a 30-minute wait to get to one of your windows, and maybe a 10 or 15 minute, 15 or 20-minute conversation for the interview, to get your DAS pass. But mostly I just want to alert everybody to the operational changes, the rules, etc., that are changing, notwithstanding. That's a whole separate conversation. You do not go into the park. You do not go to City Hall to do your DAS interview. You do those at the ticket booths next to the harbor entrance, not the ticket booths on the downtown Disney side. Those are still for purchasing single-day tickets. And with that, we will enter the park and do our normal trip around on the Disneyland Railroad, stopping in New Orleans Square to see if we can't get a peek at what's happening in the queue. You could just see lots of activity there in this view as we pause here, as we park at New Orleans. A lot of dirt, a lot of orange netting, fall protection there. And you could see some cinder blocks there being put up right in the middle frame. I don't know how obvious that is, but they're there as well. They are busy, very, very busy here out in the queue space and in that garden area that's going to separate Haunted Mansion from Princess Tiana's. Heading next to Critter Country, taking a look at the status, Briar Patch side of things. And is that a tree stump just sitting there? Did they drop? Wow, where'd they dig that tree from, I wonder? Oh, I think I know what that is. Stay tuned. That's going to be a story, but there's some guys digging. That's the tree right there. That's actually that hole. Let's back it up again. I'm putting this together on the fly here because I didn't quite put this together last week. Last week we saw them take down a tree, and that's the hole where that tree was. And that's the stump now on your right. It's going to explain a few things that we see later. But otherwise, things are pretty normal here as far as what's happening on the ground. They're still prepping. They're still digging. Lots of dirt on the ground. They haven't filled things up yet. They're not ready for concrete, at least overall in that space. We'll turn around and take a look at the entrance to Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And this week, the scrims are down. And they've taken the scrim down so we can see everything that they're doing now. I'm hoping this is going to be a permanent condition because I would love to be able to see them paint. As best as I can tell, we can't see. Yeah, they haven't. I don't think that they've stripped anything yet, or I'm not sure if they're planning to, but they haven't started that process yet. But I'm hoping that they leave that scrim down because I would like to be able to see what color they paint that. That's going to be a big deal. Meanwhile, at the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, you can see that they have, in fact, stripped the rest of that fencing. That we just saw a little bit of it that had that sort of white. Well, again, I'm not sure if it's stripped or if they've just added a primer, but almost all of that railing now is that off-white looking color from this distance, and they'll be repainting that soon. As a matter of fact, you could smell the paint from the train on this day. It was pretty strong, so they are fast at work on repainting that queue. Got off the train at Toontown. And while I didn't find anything there, I did find these walls up out in front of the Fantasyland Theater. This is right about where the popcorn cart is. Most likely this is for concrete or some kind of, below grade stuff. So we're going in the reverse direction now. We're heading through Critter Country and Tiana's Bayou Adventure from the opposite side. And we saw this guy down below the Hungry Bear Bridge tamping down the dirt in this area. Normally you see them doing this as they're getting ready to pour concrete, but I don't think that's the case here because They are nowhere near pouring concrete elsewhere around the land, so this could just be for an isolated space. One thing I did notice is that, it kind of struck me when I was filming this. I'm like, there is a hole in that scene. There's a hole right here in this view. There's a gap. There should be a tree here. And I had forgotten almost completely that we saw this last week. We saw them taking down that tree. But yes, there is, in fact, there should be a tree right here in about the middle of the frame. Here's another look. You have the tree in front of the Tiana's Foods poster and a tree in front of the Mardi Gras poster. But normally there would be a tree right over in the middle right here where that look into the mountain is. Which, by the way, again, I'm looking at this because it looks really complete and finished. This is from a couple weeks ago. And that tree right there, the tree that is over the Mardi Gras sign on the right, not the left, is the tree I'm talking about. That's the tree that's gone. That's the tree that's been removed, leaving a big gap right there. I don't know if there's a tree in the future for that space. I mean, these trees are pretty old, and I don't know what their lifespan is, but it could be the case that they had to do that for show, and then they might plant a new tree there in the future. Meanwhile, back to the present. Got some crew working back there, but a lot of theming here, a lot of swampy theming. I feel like we're nearing the finish line. I really do. I really feel like we're nearing the finish line on this. I feel like September is still a possibility, even though they have pulled crew. Oh gosh, now I don't know if I could say that. They've been pulling crew, it looks like it, my observation, because again, hardly anybody on site. We're here in the middle of the day. So I think they have pulled crew from Splash to Haunted Mansion. They've put some green mossy surface on that outcropping there. I would expect to find more of that swamp theming there in the future. And then nothing to report at the top of the drop. Still looking for some kind of show elements here. Let's turn around, look to the left, and look at the Haunted Mansion ground. And you can see now this is where all the action is. Not just the guys in hard hats, but just look at all that staging. There's another hard hat. There is staging happening of a variety of different materials and places. It's everywhere. It's fascinating. So we'll want to get on the Mark Twain to get a good look at that. On our way, I noticed that they pushed the walls out again. Right as we're walking past this, that's where the walls have popped out. This was certainly pushed back in, and it runs the length of this stretch past the popcorn cart, and then they go back to the normal spot when you reach Tiana's place. I would imagine that this is necessary for them to get the queue ready to build some sort of entrance and exit queue for the reopening of Haunted Mansion. Here's how it looked a couple weeks ago, and you can see there was a lot more space here, a lot more room. And this is just, was this a week ago? I think this was just, there's Adam by the way. I think this was just a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And this is a couple weeks ago as well. You can see much more room there. We have confirmation from Disney. They have put out a notice on the park's blog that yes, Haunted Mansion will reopen. They're giving the date of August 23rd. That's the first date of the Halloween season. We had heard something like it could be, in July possibly. Disney so far is only committing to August 23rd. They committed to that, and they've committed to virtual queue. So that rumor that we heard was true, that they are going to do a virtual queue for when Haunted Mansion reopens on August 23rd. So at minimum, we're going to get Haunted Mansion on August 23rd for the beginning of the Halloween season. Still leaving it open to that possibility that July could happen. However, I will say that as I understand it, cast have not yet been called for any kind of return to the Haunted Mansion in July. So far, they're only being notified of August 23rd. So hearing that makes me think it's possible that we don't open early. We don't open in July, but we'll stay tuned. There's still a possibility for that because, well, that's what we had been hearing. But to summarize, they brought the walls out. It looks like they're putting a lot of their focus on creating space, creating an entry as well as an exit. They're going to build an exit from the crypt, obviously, so they have to bring that area out as well. They're going to enter through the front door of the Haunted Mansion and exit through the crypt, just like you normally do. But that's just for virtual queue. There is no place to put a standby queue of any kind, not even a lightning lane queue, I don't think. It would clog up the path here. You could put some guests out there, but not enough to keep things organized. It would just be too confusing, too many guests. I think they want to keep that path as clear as possible for guests trying to navigate this area. Not that it makes much of a difference considering they're going to close. Critter Country's closed, and they're going to close the path to Galaxy's Edge on July 8th. So I guess why would they even need to worry about that? I don't know. We'll see. But you're probably going to have some people loitering in this area anyway. We're going to climb the treehouse, but only to show you this view of the Haunted Mansion queue. And I don't know if you're noticing this right away, but that is a new brick wall right there in the middle of your frame. Giant tree planter, and then behind that giant tree planter is a red brick wall. That was not there before. Here's our look just last week. We had some porta potties there and some earth movers, some equipment, etc. There's that guy we saw. He was going up and down. We're trying to figure out what he's doing back there. Where there was that last week, this week there is a brick wall, which is interesting because that brick wall was not there before. That's new. And what I mean by new is that's not a replaced brick wall. That's a new feature. We'll get a look at that again on the Mark Twain in just a minute. But before we do, a quick PSA from the Golden Horseshoe, where it is open and guests are enjoying okay chicken strips and okay fish and chips and an okay chicken salad. The stage is still no live shows, no entertainment here. They do have a Celebrate Soulfully exhibit of old instruments, but there's no music, no shows are happening here. So that's still a problem. Just putting some eyes on that. Let's get on the Mark Twain. I'm grateful at least that they put something on that stage. Anyway, I mean, there's that. But it's a poor replacement for any kind of live show at the Golden Horseshoe. So our first look at this is the Magnolia Garden area of that space. Not a lot to see here from this angle. We actually got a better view here of this space from the treehouse. So we'll fix our gaze on the entrance to the Haunted Mansion, where that's where the walls have come out. Guys and that's where they're working. There's 4 or 5 hard hats in the scene, or in this view. Wait, 6? At least 5, maybe 6 guys right there working on that space. For sure, what they're doing there is getting ready to build an entrance, a path from the other side of the wall into the Haunted Mansion. And then as we look to the right, that's actually to the right of the crypt. That's about where the gift shop would go. And we see some 2x4s being erected there. I don't know if those 2x4s are related to the gift shop. I don't think that they are. They're just not ready for that yet, I don't think. It could be something that they're getting ready to do to separate Tiana's from the Haunted Mansion. But there's the crypt in the middle of the frame now through that tree. But they do still need to build or create a concrete path out of that building as well, so that guests can exit the Haunted Mansion. And then now we get a better look at those hard hats. I can see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 in that picture right there. So that's my guess. Is that where these guys are working right now? My guess is that's the angle from which we would enter. They'll cut out this wall right here, right about where that red canopy is, the red umbrella. And that's about where guests will enter the queue. And then slide to the left a little bit, and there, okay, so this is what I was talking about. There's a new dramatic change happening at the exterior queue. I'm not sure if this is how clear this is, but last week we reported that they were building that brick wall right there. This is last week. And they were installing that. Very exciting. That's the wall for the pet cemetery, right? Come back a week later, and there's that wall in the back. They've built another wall in front of it. So that's the path. That's the standby path that guests walk on their way to the rear exterior queue. This is a new development, guys. This did not exist before. I mean, there was a brick wall. Let's look at this old footage right here. You can see there was a brick wall that two of them, but they were like, calf high walls for guests. on both, the way in and then as they make that U-turn back towards the exterior or the rear queue, you can see that there's a red brick wall there, but it's not nearly as high as this one is. That, if my eyes don't deceive me, that's waist high, would be my guess. Unless there's a trick, like a perception happening here, or unless ground level is not where, maybe that could be it. Maybe ground level is not where we think it is. Ground level would have to be somewhere, at least halfway up. So where that white concrete is, that's probably ground level, is my guess. But what they're doing here, I don't know, man. That's interesting. Right? That's pretty interesting. What purpose that has, I don't know. And it is my expectation that there's going to be another wall developing here from the concept art. They're going to build a head-high wall right there in between where that tree planter is and the existing red wall, brick wall that we're talking about. Right there, there will be a head-high brick wall built that will separate the Haunted Mansion queue on the right from the extended, patio of Tiana's place on the left. And there again is that giant tree planter that we noticed before. So we'll go back to the entrance now. I see a concrete cement mixer right there. So definitely they are planning to do some work there. There's a form, that cylindrical form right there. That's to pour concrete into. You set up some rebar, you put that thing in the ground. It's to create I don't think they're going to create any sort of columnar-sized post in that space exactly. So that's probably just resting there, but that's not its final destination. And then behind the brick wall into the rear queue, I am certain we are still looking at it. Yeah, they still got the fall protection up there. We're still looking at a pool-sized ditch in the rear queue as they try to finish up that elevator. Wow. And then we pan to the right. There's just guys everywhere. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys right there. It's probably the same 6 guys, but it's at least 6 guys. And that takes us to the crypt exit. I wonder if they're going to wait to install that gift shop until the very end. That's my expectation, is they're going to wait to install this until the queue is the exterior queue is all nearly complete. That's my guess. And I do still think that they're building that offsite. They're going to just drop that in there. Really going to be interested to see how this develops. Really going to be interested to see if that, there it is right there. We saw that steel last week. That steel is starting to take a curved shape. It's going to bend around. That could be the beginnings of that concrete wall, that head-high wall I was talking about before. That could be the beginning of that. Anyway, I'm really fascinated by this and hope it looks good. I really do.
Now, forgive me, but I'd like to take a quick break from this construction update to let you guys know about GetAwayToday. You may already know that they are our preferred vacation planner, travel agent for our fans who are looking to book a trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World or more. Universal Studios Hollywood, Universal Orlando, SeaWorld, Legoland, you name it. And I'd like to think that we know them very well. We've met many of them personally, and we know how kind they are and how really tremendously good they are at their jobs. And that's why I'm confident in referring our fans to Getaway, because I am confident that you will be treated just as well as we have. If you're planning a trip to a Disney park or Universal or anything else of that nature, if you're planning a trip soon, use the link in our description so that they know that we sent you and so that we know that you were sent to them through one of our YouTube videos. And in so doing, you can be confident that you're going to be getting some of the best possible service from people who know everything there is to know about planning a trip to the Disney parks. Thank you for that. Let's get back to the show.
All right, let's take another look while we're on the Mark Twain at the Critter Country. Man, a lot of activity back there, but that rear area looks like they flattened that out quite a bit. They're getting ready for concrete there, perhaps. Certainly not on the Briar Patch side of the bridge, of the train bridge. And there you can see that tree stump. I thought, when I looked at this, I thought, there wasn't a tree in that space before. I was very confused by that tree, and I don't remember them cutting down a tree in that space. Well, it turns out they hadn't. That they have uprooted that tree and then just moved it over there. That stump is there now. But that's the stump that existed on the other side of the street. Meanwhile, it looks like they are still digging. That digger right there, he is still digging. I don't think he's filling. He's digging still. Looking for signs on that turnaround path before you take the second lift hill. Those boxes are new. There was that one with the red X. I don't know what that means, but hopefully this means that they're getting ready to do additional theming here in this part of the attraction. And this scene is a little washed out because we're going from shadow to light, but that looks like there's a length of something. It looks like an I-beam, but I'm not positive. The color's wrong, but I'd be curious to know what that's for. If that's, or that could be something they're going to put below grade. We are still waiting to see them cut out whatever it is that they're planning with that green paint on the side of the hill there. But I would imagine that's a pretty cavernous little hole that they've dug there in that space. Yeah, I don't know what that length of whatever that is. Conduit, perhaps. Oh, it looks like perhaps they have begun digging out through the side of that hill right there. We've got green paint on something behind the wall there. Those cylindrical spaces. Interesting. All right, so that's Tiana's Bayou Adventure and Critter Country. Let's get on the monorail. And we got some new developments here in downtown Disney. Looks like that rear space. Have we covered this? I don't know. The rear space behind the retail building is probably finished, I think. And there's Parkside Market. Earl Sandwich. Nothing visible happening here in terms of this little temporary building that they've constructed. I mean, there's a couple minor signs that I saw here that suggest that they are definitely working in there. You know, the windows are in a different state of being open than they were the previous week. But this right here, this behind this scrim there, they are up to something. They are constructing some railings here. I don't know if that's for cast or if that's for guests. Doubtful. I guess they could be building a queue. But I heard some welding. There was some definite welding happening back there. So that is still a thing. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. But first, Din Tai Fung. The walls are down at Din Tai Fung. The walls are down. We can see the entirety of this building, which is great. They are extending the desert theme for the mid-century modern aesthetic that they're constructing for this part of downtown Disney. They're actually guests in their dining right now. They were having a private event. You know, it's typical. Friends and family, that kind of thing. So you can see that there was crew in there and guests for that private event. As we understand it, Din Tai Fung will be having a soft opening. Normally they don't announce soft openings, but they're having a soft opening on June 24th. And then the grand opening will probably be, usually it's like a week later. So stay tuned for that if you're going to be in the area. Check that out. Din Tai Fung. Walls are down. And now it reveals sort of we're getting closer. Each week I feel like we're getting a better view, a better idea of what this whole space is going to look like. And I love it. Okay? I just love this whole aesthetic, what's happening here. I just love it. Not a lot. Nothing is happening on the retail building. I feel like they're just waiting. I feel like all they got to do is move these tenants in. But how much more could they be doing here? Parkside Market, obviously they got to do a lot of build out here still. We're waiting for them to finish that. That's going to be a bar up there, on that second floor. We've been talking about that. And they're going to have outdoor seating there that you can look out onto the band, watch the band play. Same over here on this left side where the wood is up now. So they're making fast progress here. Now I mentioned Earl Sandwich. Stopped there to get some lunch today. Still, Earl Sandwich is still one of the best values. That's a $9 sandwich right there, which by today's standards is cheap. Okay, and it's a full, it's a full serving. That's one reason why I love Earl's is because they price it right. I love the fact that because you could buy a sandwich $13, $14 in the park, but Earl's is still $9. Portos, according to Disney, they're still gonna build Portos. We don't know where exactly. The idea was that it was going to be in this footprint of where Earl's is. Whether or not that's still going to happen, I don't know, because I keep hearing conflicting stories on that, so I'm going to wait to make any kind of prediction as far as that goes. My previous predictions are now in limbo. But as far as Disney is concerned, if you read the Disney Parks blog where they announced the Din Tai Fung opening, plus more this summer in downtown Disney's district, oh, they have Din Tai Fung merch. Okay. Besides that, they talked about Paseo and Centrico, a bubble show that's coming to downtown Disney, the Wonderground move. And it says Wonderground Gallery opens in a temporary space. So that's not the final home of the Wonderground Gallery. Fascinating, interesting. We'll stay tuned. But right here at the very end, they kind of just threw this in there. Future plans for the district include Parkside Market, 4 diverse culinary concepts under one roof. That's where that's the Parkside Market brought to life by Levy, as well as Porto's Bakery and Cafe, and a 2-story location for Earl's Sandwich. So both of those plans are still in effect, according to Disney. Now, again, the idea was that it was going to be Porto's in the Earl's Sandwich La Brea Bakery location, and then Earl's Sandwich was going to go in that empty space that exists right now between the retail building and Din Tai Fung. Perhaps they changed that, maybe they move things around, I'm not sure. But that's still a thing. According to Disney, Porto's Bakery and Cafe is still a thing. We will stay tuned. I sure hope it is, because I love Porto's and I want Porto's in downtown Disney. I will spend a lot of money at Porto's in downtown Disney. You can count on that. That's where I would do all of my baked goods and coffee purchases outside of Starbucks when I'm in the park. Let's go to DCA. Actually, before we go to DCA, just check in real quick. The new scanners are still not here. They've still have not yet put them back, I should say. But there's Oswald. He's great. Hyperion Theater. No sign of anything. As I understand, I am not expecting any show here at the Hyperion anytime soon, if ever. They have repainted that building for no reason whatsoever. That bothers me. Mission Breakout. I'm talking about this because we mentioned it in our last State of DCA report that there's an elevator down. This is not the kind of thing that shows up on the refurb calendar, because the attraction's not closed. It's still open, but they are down an elevator, which means they are down 2 ride vehicles for a few weeks still. It has already been a few weeks, and it's going to be for another couple of weeks at least. So expect queues that look like this, and expect wait times that look like this, no matter how busy or not busy the park is. When you're running at 67% of your capacity, that's going to affect the wait times. So be prepared, just be advised. It's that elevator shaft on the far right that is the problem. The one on the left and the one in the middle, they're still good. But the elevator shaft on the far right is down. And we'll wrap with some updates from the rest of Avengers Campus. We mentioned last week how some of the shows, the Dora Milaje has been reduced. The Avengers Assemble show has been reduced. Doctor Strange is closed. This happened last week. I didn't even notice it. They took out the Jeep. The Jeep is no longer there. I don't know if that's a permanent condition or not, but it's one more thing that's gone that has been taken from us. I'm hoping, you guys, that there's a reason for this. We've got news, I'm hearing rumors that we're going to get some kind of announcement for Avengers Campus at D23, if that's the e-ticket or something else, or both. I don't know. I don't know if they're, because they don't need to take the Jeep out to build the e-ticket. They don't. By the way, that e-ticket is going to go on the other side of that wall in this shot right here, where the Jeep would be. On the other side of that wall is where the e-ticket would go backstage. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take the camera onto the Pixar Pal Around next week, and we'll see what's going on there. And then lastly, we'll check on Redwood Creek Challenge. There's a guy with a hard hat doing work, so that's still a thing. We're looking for this to reopen in the end of July. Still waiting to see if there's anything more being done on this part of the. It's tough to see what's visibly happening through the trees and through the scaffolding. But Redwood Creek is still ongoing. That is our construction update for this week, guys. Awesome. Follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedizzy, that's fresh with no E. And if you like our show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. And then watch our most recent recon study. We did a test, a rope drop test, doing all of Fantasyland for those guests who have kids, or for those guests who have Genie Plus and you want to save your e-ticket attractions for after 10 a.m. and you want to hit Fantasyland, a bunch of non-Lightning Lane attractions. It's a great idea for that. We got a lot done in that 2.5 hours. And then you can watch our State of DCA report where we talk further about what's going on at Avengers Campus. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching. We love you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And fresh baked.